Hi there, welcome to this alchemist chemistry video looking at alkene chemistry and electrophilic addition mechanisms. We're going to start with a recap of the structure of some alkenes. Now the molecule I've chosen to emphasize the structure of the alkenes is the simplest member of the alkene family, namely ethene. This is a displayed formula for a molecule of ethene, C2H4. And hopefully you can see from the diagram, this is a planar molecule. It's flat in the plane of the piece of paper with a bond angle of 120 degrees. And that's being emphasized by the wedged bonds and the hash bonds shown in the diagram. If I show my model, I can emphasize how that's working. So this is in the same orientation as the molecule is shown here. These two hydrogens coming out of the paper towards you, those correspond with the wedges here. These two hydrogens going into the plane of the piece of paper away from you, they correspond with the hashed bonds shown here. So this is our molecule of ethene. So each carbon is forming 3 sigma bonds, 2 to the hydrogens and 1 to the other carbon, and 1 pi bond. I'm going to expand upon what a sigma and pi bond actually are and alter this diagram so you can see that bonding more clearly. So this is a better representation of that sigma and pi bonding. The sigma bond is that head-on overlap of 2 atomic orbitals, whilst the pi bond is that vertical overlap between specifically 2 vertical p orbitals. I'm going to change this diagram again just to emphasize that one more time in a different way. So this third representation is an even more simplified and streamlined version, where the pi bond is simply shown as a region of electron density both above and below the plane of the sigma bond shown. So a sigma bond is a head-on overlap between 2 atomic orbitals, whilst a pi bond is a vertical overlap between 2 p orbitals in that vertical position perpendicular at right angles to any sigma bonds shown. Generally, pi bonds tend to be weaker than sigma bonds because the vertical overlap is not quite as effective and efficient as the head-on overlap of atomic orbitals found in sigma bonds. Now we come on to the electrophilic addition mechanism itself, and I'm going to take you through this in a dual coding manner, using words to support the diagram to really help emphasize the meaning. So here is our alkene molecule, our ethene molecule, and the double bond is being represented as a region of electron density, a region of space with a high density of electrons in it. Approaching our molecule is a bromine molecule, Br2 molecule, and that bromine molecule has an induced polarity. In other words, as the bromine molecule approaches this region of electron density, the electrons in this bond are repelled towards the second bromine. That creates these partial charges. This bromine is now slightly negative, delta negative. This bromine is slightly positive, delta positive. This end of this molecule is the electrophile. This delta positive region is a lone pair acceptor, which quantifies it as an electrophile. To show the mechanism itself, the curly arrow is the movement of a pair of electrons. So a pair of electrons is being attracted from the pi bond towards this delta positive bromine. Simultaneously, this Br-Br bond, this covalent bond here, the pair of electrons here, is being repelled and pushed towards this electronegative bromine, which will break this Br-Br bond. So this is the movement pair of electrons onto the positive Br, the delta positive Br. This is the movement pair of electrons from this bonding region onto or towards this particular bromine atom. In the second step of the mechanism, the bromide ion produced actually acts like a nucleophile. That's a lone pair donator, and it donates a pair of electrons from itself to this key intermediate species here known as a carbocation, because it has a carbon atom that possesses a positive charge. So this carbocation is accepting a pair of electrons being donated from this bromide ion to create a new covalent bond here. The third and final step of the mechanism is the production of the product. In this case, with both bromines attached to this alkane, 1,2-dibromoethane has been formed. Now we're going to move on to a more advanced version of electrophilic addition involving a new rule known as Markovnikov's rule. So Markovnikov's rule is applied when you have alkyl groups, carbon-hydrogen groups, around the position of where your carbocation is going to form. Because in reality, in alkyl groups, there is a slightly different electronegativity between carbon and hydrogen atoms. This means that the electron density is slightly built up around the carbon atom in any alkyl group attached to a larger parent chain molecule. This produces what is known as a positive inductive effect. These alkyl groups surrounding this central carbon are electron donating. They are pushing electron density along these bonds towards the carbon here. And that can have an influence on the stability of any carbocations formed in these electrophilic addition mechanisms. So what Markovnikov's rule predicts or states is that the greater the number of alkyl groups surrounding the positively charged carbon, the greater the stability of the carbocation formed. So primary carbocations tend to be the least stable because there's only one electron donating alkyl group pushing electron density towards the positively charged carbon. And so there's not so much of a dampening down of that positive charge, and we're not distributing the charge as effectively as we could around that carbocation, and hence it's the least stable. Secondary carbocations tend to be more stable because there are now two alkyl groups pushing electron density towards that positively charged carbon, helping to better distribute charge around the molecule and increase the stability of that carbocation. And tertiary carbocations tend to be the most stable because there are now three alkyl groups pushing electron density towards that positively charged carbon, helping to distribute charge more effectively and evenly around the molecule and create that inherent stability. And this will affect whether you get majority or minority products in electrophilic addition mechanisms. And we have to show this in the drawing of the mechanisms that you tend to get more of the more stable product than the less stable product formed. And that's what I'm going to show you next. So I'd like to take you through an example where we have to apply Markovnikov's rule in action to this asymmetric alkene molecule. So this is a molecule of butanene, and this is a hydrogen bromide electrophile. The delta positive region of this molecule is the electrophilic bit, if you like. So mechanism starting off as normal, a pair of electrons being attracted from the pi bond of the alkene towards the delta positive hydrogen simultaneously. As those electrons approach, they repel the electrons in the HBr bond towards the more electronegative bromine. So this is the pair of electrons being repelled towards that bromine atom, which is more delta negative, breaking that bond as a result. And we're going to form a bond between the carbon and the hydrogen. But now we have a choice. We've got to make sure we produce the right and most stable carbocation. That's a secondary carbocation in this particular example. So I'm going to make sure I add the hydrogen here and not here, so that the carbocation is definitely secondary, and this is where I want to put the positive charge, like so. So here you can see this is our secondary carbocation, which is more stable than if I tried to draw a primary carbocation. This will be the majority product, the main product formed. And as before, the bromide ion now acts as a nucleophile, a lone pair donator, and donates electrons to that positively charged carbon in the carbocation species to produce our product, which would look like this. So because our bromine is found on the second carbon in this molecule, in terms of position, this is 2-bromobutane. That's the majority product of this reaction. The minority product of this reaction would be 1-bromobutane formed if the less stable carbocation had been produced. But that will be the minority product, the less probable product. The more probable and majority product would be 2-bromobutane, and that is the application of Markovnikov's rule in situ. So guys, the best way to prove you have a good understanding of Markovnikov's rule in action is to have a go at a question yourself. So this is your turn, your chance to have a go at a question of a similar ilk. And what I'll do is if you pause the video now, you can have a go at the question, and I will go through it with you afterwards. And best of luck, and I'll talk to you very shortly to show you how to solve this problem. Okay folks, I really hope that went well for you and you've applied Markovnikov's rule effectively. Let's have a look at the solution together. So we have the double bond, the region of electron density. Specifically, a pair of electrons being pulled from the pi bond onto the delta positive hydrogen, which is the electrophile in this reaction, the lone pair acceptor. Simultaneously, the HCl bond is broken as the pair of electrons is repelled by the incoming electrons from this bond onto the delta negative chlorine. And then comes the key step where we have to get this right. This is a tertiary carbocation, which is the most stable carbocation. We've got all these alkyl groups around the positive carbon, helping to stabilize through that positive inductive effect, through that electron donating effect. So, tertiary carbocation. Then, the chlorine acts as a nucleophile. A lone pair donator donates its pair of electrons to the positive charge of this carbon, giving us our final product here, which has to be the majority product, and it's 3-chloro-3-methyl pentane. Fantastic, guys. Really well done. You managed to solve that tricky Markovnikov rule application question. It's a pleasure talking to you. I look forward to talking to you in the next Alchemist Chemistry video. Take care. Bye now.